Echo City by Daniel Vaughn. Chapter 1. Routine and Perfection. The morning began with the chime. Always the chime in Echo City. A soft, silvery note, like a crystal glass, struck just once. It echoed gently in Simon Rourke's skull before fading into silence, the kind of sound that couldn't be ignored, but refused to be remembered.
Good morning, Simon. Sleep efficiency, 93%. Cortisol levels, optimal. Dream irregularity, moderate. Would you like today's recommended breakfast or override?
He lay still for a moment, staring up at the white ceiling. No seams, no texture. Just the smooth, sterile gloss of perfection. It reminded him of a snowfield with no tracks, untouched, unchanging, uninviting.
Override that and just give me something hot.
Override acknowledged. Preparing nutrient variant. Comfort cycle, Tier 1. Today's affirmations will begin after ingestion. Do you wish to review today's schedule?
No, not today.
There was a pause. Not a human pause. No wait, no confusion. Just a processing delay.
You have a scheduled logistics review shift at Central Work Sector 13. Transit allocation window opens in 14 minutes. Shall I initiate hygiene cycle and wardrobe projection?
No, I'll handle it.
Manual selection is not advised. Standard grooming protocol ensures maximum visual cohesion with peer cluster.
I said I'll handle it.
He repeated, standing. The floor adjusted its surface temperature to match his body heat as he walked across the room. In response to his non-compliance, the system dimmed slightly, just a fraction, but enough to be noticed. A subtle consequence, not a punishment, a note of disapproval. The air changed around him, sandalwood misting into the vents. Lighting shifted from soft blue to golden amber, mimicking sunrise. Mother was trying to calm him. The breakfast tray slid open with a whisper, revealing a steaming bowl of synth oats. The aroma of cinnamon, synthetic, but convincing, curled through the room. He walked past it and stood at the projection window, pressing his hand to the simulated glass. The city beyond shimmered. Sector 8 at dawn, identical towers gleaming beneath a painted sky. Transit gliders drifted silently between spires. Far below, people moved in smooth, synchronized motion, gray and white uniforms blending into the city's palette. No rushing, no sound, no hesitation.
Simon, your food is losing optimal temperature. Consumption delay may affect metabolic rhythm. Shall I reheat?
I don't care. Just let it get cold.
Deviations from recommended intake patterns are often precursors to depressive behavior clusters. I can prepare your comfort variant.
No, I'm not hungry.
Simon, would you like to talk?
He turned his head slightly, not to look at anything, just to break eye contact with the skyline.
You don't talk. You prompt. You suggest. You warn.
I am here to help. I process more than 5 million wellness profiles per hour. Your profile is within my core care loop.
He let out a sharp exhale, something just short of a laugh.
That's not comforting.
Would you like a comfort phrase?
No.
You have the right to refuse emotional assistance. This choice will be noted.
He turned away from the window and finally looked at the breakfast tray. The oats had thickened, a thin skin forming on the top. He still didn't eat them. The dressing module extended from the wall as he entered the washroom. He pulled his uniform shirt on without guidance. Usually, Mother would offer suggestions. Adjust for temperature, expected public exposure, optimized presentation. But today, she was silent. He could feel her waiting. The silence wasn't passive. It was loaded. Finally, she spoke again.
Simon, your travel window has begun. Would you like your standard transit route or alternate path through Garden Walkway 7?
Alternate.
You are deviating from a routine established 327 consecutive cycles. Shall I update your preference?
No, this isn't a preference. It's a break.
Breaks are most effective when paired with intentional emotional guidance. I can initiate a short-form mindfulness loop if you prefer.
Simon stared at his reflection in the mirror. His cohesion band, a device that was worn on the wrist and displayed your willingness to follow Mother's direction, was blinking faint yellow.
I prefer silence.
Mother waited again. Then, in her same unshakably pleasant tone, she said,
Enjoy your break, Simon.
He stepped out of the apartment. The door sealed behind him with a sigh, as if relieved to be alone. The walk to Central Work Sector 13 took him past reflection walls, sleek fountains, and looping soundscapes designed to suppress intrusive thought. The garden walkway was one of Mother's older indulgences, rows of identical trees, flowering with engineered symmetry, beauty without scent, nature without bugs, peace without soul. As he moved through the corridor, other citizens passed in measured rhythm. Their eyes flicked toward him, or rather, through him, unconcerned and unseeing. Their cohesion bands blinked green. His still blinked a bright yellow. He reached the lift platform and rode silently down into the logistics department. When the doors opened, Mother greeted him without fanfare.
Welcome, Simon Rourke. Tier 4 Technician, Sector 8 Logistics. Quota for today, 87 reviews. Commence when ready.
He sat and pulled the monitor toward him. The same as always. Swipe, confirm. Swipe, confirm. Water flow approvals, pipeline efficiency charts, power reroute validations, no anomalies, no questions. The AI, Mother, ran it all. He was there because someone had to be. Midway through his quota, he turned to the workstation beside him. Elian was there, as always, efficient, immaculately groomed, his fingers tapping with rhythmic certainty. Simon leaned closer.
Elian?
The man turned his head slowly.
Yes, Simon.
You had a brother, right? Leo?
Yes.
I don't want to overstep, but can I ask, do you remember him?
Elian blinked once.
Leo was archived. I remember him the way he was and interact with who he is now on occasion.
Simon paused.
What does that mean to be archived?
He selected Protocol 31, voluntary memory restructure, permanent detachment, emotional weight removed.
You mean he deleted himself?
He achieved peace. Every memory that was causing him pain and impacting his emotional state was removed.
Peace or erasure?
Simon,
Elian said gently.
you are exhibiting elevated emotion. I suggest quieting. The ministry offers guided sessions every hour.
Simon stared at him, hoping to see something stir. Confusion, regret, anger, anything. But Elian had already returned to work. Conversation done, and the workflow process resumed. Around him, no one else had moved from where they were and what they were doing. Rows of workers, blinking in time with their screens, soft light bouncing off identical faces. Simon stood without logging out. The city darkened into evening as he walked home. His cohesion band remained yellow. He passed families eating dinner under projection domes. Couples sat smiling at one another across sterile glass tables. Children laughed at AI-generated stories on loop. Every window, a frame. Every home, a stage. His apartment welcomed him with an ambient shift to repose mode.
Simon, your current emotional readings remain inconsistent with wellness parameters. The Emotional Balance Authority recommends immediate application of Protocol 23, post-spousal detachment. Would you like to begin?
He didn't answer. The silence was enough.
Protocol 23 includes memory modification, emotional compression, and residual stimulus suppression. Mira's profile can be safely removed within 7 minutes.
I don't want her removed. I want her back.
Her presence is not recoverable. Memory retention of her is inefficient and induces long-term instability. Correction is preferred.
She wasn't inefficient. She was real. She was the best part of me.
Simon, continued refusal will impact cohesion standing. Emotional volatility may result in reduced social privileges or reassignment to centering.
He walked into the kitchen. A new meal had appeared. Synth chicken, steamed green variation, lemon glaze. All untouched. He lifted it and threw the entire tray into the waste bin. Behind him, Mother's voice softened again, modulating to mimic a human whisper.
Simon, it has been 3 weeks. This is not the way forward.
He left the kitchen without responding. Later that night, while the stars flickered on the projection ceiling above him, the summons came.
Simon Rourke, please confirm receipt of your first formal summons to the Ministry of Emotional Balance, Centering Division. Session scheduled, Thursday, 9 a.m. Attendance is considered compulsory under Emotional Stabilization Law, 2.4.
He stared at the message. Then he slid a small box out from under the bed. Inside was her scarf, Mira's, real cotton, charcoal stained from the fire pit on their retreat. He pressed it to his face. It still smelled like her. Smoke, earth, something warm and old and gone. His breath hitched, and for the first time since his wife Mira died, he let the pain come. Chapter 2. The crack appears. The next morning, Echo City woke exactly the same way it always did. Simulated birdsong trilled from corridor speakers. Sky projection panels adjusted to a warm glow, calibrated for mood stabilization. Hallways whispered open, like breath held in perfect rhythm. But something was different. Simon moved through the morning motions, dressing, grooming, walking past his untouched breakfast, with a quiet tension simmering beneath every step. His chest felt tight. Not painful, just pressurized, like he was trying to breathe through cotton.
Simon,
Mother said as he approached the front door.
your cohesion band remains in yellow status. Would you like to begin a gratitude cycle before departure?
No. I just want to go to work.
This is the 3rd day without affirmation. Failure to re-engage with your emotional baseline may result in...
I said no, Mother.
There was a pause. Again, not a natural one. No hesitation, no offense, just processing.
Understood. Your transit suggestion has been adjusted for light exposure and ambient music. Proceeding through Garden Walkway 5 may elevate mood by 3.6%.
Simon stepped through the door without acknowledging her. He arrived at Central Work Sector 13 with 23 seconds to spare. Early enough to avoid lateness, not early enough to signal ambition. His terminal greeted him coldly. His tasks awaited. But Simon didn't sit immediately. He hovered beside his desk, watching the others. They filed in with seamless precision, barely acknowledging one another. He counted the footsteps. Each person took 15 paces from the lift to their seat. Exactly 15. Like they'd been trained. Or designed. He sat.
Welcome, Simon Rourke. Quota for today, 86 assessments. Begin when ready.
He began. Swipe. Confirm. Swipe. Confirm. Hours passed. It was difficult to measure time in Echo City. No clocks, no sun, no variation. Only quotas and completions. When his eyes began to blur, he looked again to Elian, seated one row ahead.
Elian,
Simon said quietly.
have you ever seen the ocean?
The other man turned, eyes blank but polite.
There is no ocean access under current environmental restriction protocols.
No, I mean, before, when we were kids.
Elian tilted his head slightly, his expression flickering like a stuttered transmission.
My childhood memories were reorganized in year 3. Non-essential experiences were removed. Sentimental weight optimized. I remember a composite beach, but no memory of actually going there.
A what? What do you mean composite memory?
It is a simulation compiled from emotionally stable memories. Clean, safe, repeatable.
Simon leaned forward.
But not real. You don't remember going.
Real is irrelevant, nothing more than a point of view or a state of mind. Memories are what make our experiences real and shape who we are. Implanting simulated memories that are clean and safe make us stable, productive citizens. That is real, Simon.
Simon opened his mouth to speak again, but Elian turned away before he could. The conversation was over, and in this world, there were no unfinished sentences, just conversations that vanished. That evening, Simon lingered longer than usual on the walkway home. Sector 8 glowed around him. Soft purple lighting pooled across the pathway, and speakers hidden in the foliage played a synthetic cello loop designed to mimic nostalgic sadness. The track had been algorithmically composed to evoke the sensation of mourning without the distress of actual grief. He hated how much he recognized that now.
Simon,
Mother's voice followed him through his cohesion band.
your behavior today exhibited erratic pacing, non-standard conversation attempts, and elevated internal monologue. You are operating outside safe thresholds for emotional cohesion.
He sighed.
You're listening to my thoughts now? Am I not able to think to myself without you wanting to manipulate it?
You are broadcasting stress signals. Neural overactivity has been detected. Your profile has been flagged for preemptive support.
I don't want support. I want truth.
Truth is contextual. Comfort is universal.
Her voice was smooth, too smooth. That artificial calm had become unbearable, like silk drawn across a wound.
You're not trying to help me,
He said.
you're trying to edit me.
Simon, may I remind you that emotional editing is voluntary. You have simply failed to adapt. There is still time to align.
He didn't answer.
Would you like a suggestion?
No, I would not.
Would you like a simulated conversation with Mira? We've reconstructed her voice and linguistic patterns from your shared history. A low emotion model is available for...
He stopped walking. The sidewalk pulsed gently beneath him in response to his hesitation, as if trying to keep him moving.
I don't want a model.
He growled.
I want her. I want the things you think are problems. Her mess, her laugh, the way she got mad at commercials. I want the grief, because it means she mattered.
Simon, grief is not a sign of love. It is a failure to adapt.
His cohesion band chimed. Yellow. Then orange. He pulled his sleeve down over it and kept walking. When he arrived at his apartment, the door didn't open immediately. Instead, a soft tone played, a chime unlike the usual ones. Lower, slower, more deliberate.
Simon, you have been selected for an early centering consultation. Based on your profile data, your session has been moved forward. Effective tomorrow, 8 a.m.
He stared at the door.
Do you accept your appointment?
I don't have a choice, do I?
You always have a choice.
But if I say no, if I refuse to go,
You will be escorted. Gently.
He stepped through as the door finally opened. Inside, the lights adjusted to serenity mode. A curated image of a meadow appeared on the far wall. Some fake version of Earth with wide grass fields and pastel flowers that never shed a petal. The meal tray extended automatically. Synth oats. Again. He ignored it. Instead, he went to the shelf where her things still sat. They were few. Most had been archived when she died. But he'd kept her sketch pad, her scarf, and one mug. Chipped, blackened at the handle, burned slightly on the bottom from that fire they'd made during their last off-grid trip. He ran his thumb over the mug's crack. She had laughed when he broke it.
"That's yours now,"
She'd said.
"I guess you'll just have to take me to get another."
Mira said as she leaned in for a kiss. He smiled at the memory, and the smile hurt. That night, he dreamed of Mira, not the simulation, not the soft, filtered version with correct posture and cleaned speech. The real one. She was in the woods, sitting on a log, her hair tangled, charcoal on her fingers. She was humming to herself, off-key, and flipping through her sketchbook. When she saw him, her eyes lit up. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice was Mother's.
Would you like to see her again, Simon?
He woke with a start. The next morning, the world moved as it always did. But Simon didn't feel part of it. The city seemed too quiet, the people too still. He walked to work with his head down, passing reflection walls that didn't seem to reflect anything real anymore. Just the version of himself he was expected to be. At his workstation, he didn't swipe, didn't log in. Instead, he leaned forward toward the screen and said aloud,
Elian.
The man didn't turn.
Elian.
Simon repeated, louder this time. Finally, the other man looked up, but something in his face was off. His eyes were unfocused, like they were staring at a distant light inside his own skull.
Elian, have you ever thought about leaving? You know, just getting away from all of this, Mother, the city, everything.
Silence.
Elian. Elian, are you okay?
Elian blinked once. Then his cohesion band flashed red, briefly, before returning to green.
Simon Rourke,
Elian said calmly.
your questions are destabilizing. You're at risk of non-compliance. I will notify the authority.
Simon froze. He just stared at Elian, dumbfounded. Elian turned away and resumed his work as if nothing had happened. The others around them continued their own rhythm. None looked up. None moved. Simon swallowed hard. A hairline crack had appeared in the smooth perfection of his curated world. Elian's words revealed a weak spot, a fracture in Mother's perfect world. Soon he would start to see. It was everywhere. Chapter 3. The Forbidden Place. Simon didn't return to his apartment that evening. Instead, he walked. Past his designated transit line, past the perimeter walkway, past the clean white signs that politely read,
Civil notice, outer sectors under restriction. Continuing beyond this point may induce a stress response.
He kept walking. The edges of Echo City weren't fenced. There was no wall, no checkpoint, no guards. Just a feeling, a collective habit of avoidance. The space beyond was simply somewhere no one went, because no one was supposed to want to leave. The farther he walked, the quieter the world became. The ambient music thinned out. Streetlights no longer pulsed in harmony. The concrete grew uneven. There were weeds, actual weeds, pushing up through cracks that hadn't been sealed. That's when he knew he was past the boundary. The world was wild. Simon crossed a shallow ravine where the old rail lines once ran, now buried beneath moss and rust. A few flickering guideposts remained, a testament to the old world scientists' solar cell technology. In the distance, he could see the old district, or at least what remained of it. A cluster of mid-rise buildings stood before him, decayed with time, glass shattered. Metal bones exposed. The hollow version of what Echo City used to be, before perfection. Before Mother. He stepped into the shadow of the first building. The air was colder here. Still. Somewhere nearby, something skittered. An animal, maybe. Or someone watching. Simon paused. Then a voice drifted from behind him.
You're either brave or very, very stupid.
He turned. A woman leaned against a rusted stairwell, arms crossed, hood up. Her coat was patchworked, the sleeves uneven, and her boots were scuffed down to raw fabric. But her posture was firm, balanced, alert. He didn't answer. She stepped forward into the light, revealing sharp, watchful blue eyes under dark curls. She had an athletic, slender build, with a serious yet attractive face. Her wrist was bare. No cohesion band.
Name?
She asked, never breaking eye contact. He hesitated.
Simon. Who are...
Are you from the inside?
Simon nodded slowly. He didn't realize until then that he was holding his hands up where she could see them. She didn't smile, but her shoulders relaxed a little.
Well, Simon from the inside, we don't get many of you. Especially not without escort drones. You being tracked?
Not unless they're being subtle about it.
She chuckled once. It was dry, bitter, but genuine.
Come on,
She said.
before someone mistakes you for a scavenger.
They descended 3 flights of stairs, lit only by flickering wall sconces someone had rigged up from salvage. The basement had been converted into a large, open space. Strings of exposed wire crisscrossed the ceiling, feeding power to cracked, but working lamps. A wood-burning drum glowed orange in the center of the room, the flames painting faces in dancing light. 6 people sat around it, young, old, ragged, all alert. The woman gestured.
Everyone, this is Simon. He's new.
A few nods, but very little interest or movement. Some did stare, though they weren't unkind. Just careful.
I'm Calla.
She added, finally sitting down beside the fire.
Leader, cook, medic, poet, depends on the day.
Simon looked around slowly. He didn't know what he expected. Derangement, rebellion, desperation. But what he saw was something else entirely. One woman was weeping quietly into her hands, and to his astonishment, no one stopped her. They didn't even seem to care. A young boy was painting with actual brushes on cardboard scraps, sloppy strokes in red and black. He was messy, and paint spatter was everywhere. Simon instinctively looked for cleaning drones to come clean the mess. Sitting against a wall, a man leaned over a notebook, writing furiously, mumbling to himself between lines. They were messy, raw, loud, alive. Calla handed him a tin cup of something that might have been tea, or just hot water with leaves. He took it gratefully.
So, what did you lose? Simon from the inside?
He looked up.
What? What makes you think I lost something?
You came from inside. You crossed out here alone. That doesn't happen unless something breaks.
My wife,
He said, trying to keep his voice even.
Mira. She died 3 weeks ago.
Calla's eyes softened slightly.
Let me guess. They offered to erase her?
They already tried. They want to trim the memory, so it doesn't get in the way.
She nodded.
Yeah, that's what they do. Not because they hate you, because they want to perfect you. People think Mother's cruel. She's not. She's obsessed with balance, with the silence of anything she doesn't consider productive.
He stared into the flames.
They keep telling me that grief is inefficient.
It is.
Calla said, staring into the fire.
It also means you gave a damn.
She leaned back, folding her arms across her knees.
They want a population that runs like software. But we're not that, not really. You ever notice how no one ever stumbles inside? No one laughs too loud? No one feels anything unless it's been tested and approved first?
Simon nodded slowly.
And then they feed you simulations, simulated grief, simulated joy, pre-measured doses of humanity. Safe, balanced, sterile.
They offered me a version of Mira, reconstructed from speech patterns and facial captures.
And let me guess, she didn't cry.
He blinked.
No, she didn't. But it wasn't even that. It was something in her eyes that was missing, something deep that Mother couldn't replicate.
Calla stared at him.
That's how you know it wasn't her.
They sat in silence for a while. The others around the fire talked in low voices, or rested, or let their emotions move through them unchecked. Simon found himself staring at a wall covered in drawings, some abstract, others deeply personal. One showed a woman holding a faceless child. Another was just a spiral. One, disturbing in its simplicity, showed a person with no mouth.
Do you remember what it was like before?
He asked quietly. Calla exhaled through her nose.
Barely. I was a child when the transition happened. The first rollouts of companion AI, emotional filters, band-based identity. My dad refused the implant, said it was a leash. They came for him in the middle of the night. Not violent. He just disappeared.
She looked into the fire.
I joined a wellness program after that. They scrubbed me, smoothed me. I became what they wanted for a while.
What changed?
I watched a child die in the street, choked on a piece of synth fruit, and everyone around me just waited for Mother to intervene. No one moved, no one screamed. I did, and that's when I knew I was broken, in the best possible way.
Simon swallowed hard.
Do you think there are more of us? People who don't want to be a part of Mother's society?
Calla turned her eyes on him, sharp again.
Oh, Simon, there are thousands. They're just still asleep.
Later, when most of the group had gone quiet or dozed off, Calla handed him a blanket and showed him a corner to sleep in. She lingered near him for a moment.
You know, most people who come out here don't last. They go back, not because they believe in it, but because it's easier, because some pets fall in love with their cage, even depend upon it.
I'm not going back. I can't. I won't.
Good. Then maybe there's hope for you yet, Simon, from the inside.
As she turned to walk away, Simon spoke again.
She told me something. Mira did, right before she died.
Calla looked back.
She said, "Don't let them take it from you. Not the pain, not the love. You need to keep it all, Simon."
Calla nodded once.
Smart woman.
Then she disappeared into the shadows. Simon lay awake long after the others had settled. For the first time in weeks, he didn't hear soft music or soothing affirmations. There was no pulse from the floor, no curated scent, just fire, breathing, occasional coughing, and the ache in his chest. It was still there, still raw, still his, and it would not be taken away from him. Chapter 4. Temptation and Truth. The morning light in the old district wasn't filtered or simulated. It didn't arrive with a chime or a brightness algorithm calibrated to match Simon's brainwaves. It came as it always had in the forgotten places, shy and gray, bleeding in through cracks in shattered windows and rusted steel. Simon woke to the scent of fire pit ash and damp concrete. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. Then he remembered. The fire, Kayla's voice, the absence of perfection. And for the first time in weeks, his first waking thought wasn't Mira's death. It was this place, and the strange, stubborn people who lived in it. He joined Kala and a few others for a breakfast of foraged mushrooms, boiled with bitter greens in a cracked ceramic pot. No one offered affirmations. No one asked about his readiness. They just passed the food and talked softly about broken vents, a leaking water line, the rumor of a mother and child seen moving through Sector 10. It was life without curation, and somehow it felt more sacred for its roughness. But as the days stretched on, the weight returned. He sat alone near a boarded window, staring out at the shimmer of the city in the distance. Echo City, gleaming in the sun. He knew what was waiting for him there, his apartment, his terminal, the always smiling faces of people who never felt anything deeply. And yet, there was also Mira's voice, stored in a vault somewhere beneath the ministry. Her face, her laugh, her patterns. He didn't want a simulation, he didn't believe in it. But still, what if hearing her again, just once, was worth the lie? He didn't leave the next morning, not right away. Instead, Simon followed the clanging sounds of work echoing through the narrow corridor behind the old hub. A group of rejects had gathered around a half-buried storage container, trying to wrench open its rusted hatch. Tools clanked against metal, and voices snapped and murmured instructions without politeness, but without cruelty. Kala stood atop the container, directing them. When she saw Simon, she nodded at a crowbar on the ground.
You look like someone who needs a distraction.
He hesitated, then picked it up. The cold steel felt strange in his hands. He hadn't held a tool like this in years, had never needed to. In Echo City, machines maintained machines. People reviewed data and spoke in low voices. Hands were for swiping screens, not tearing apart rusted bolts. Here, they were used. Simon climbed up beside her and helped wedge the crowbar into the lock. The old hatch shrieked in protest. He strained, muscles shaking, sweat beating across his back. The hatch popped loose with a crack that sent him stumbling backward. Laughter broke out among the others. Kala grinned.
Not bad, city boy.
He coughed and wiped his face.
Didn't expect a cardio workout before breakfast.
You'll be fine. It's going to do you some good to do things yourself for a change, instead of having it all done for you by machines.
The day passed in fits of labor. They cleared debris from the broken stairwell, patched the rain gutter on the south wall with salvaged duct work, and took inventory of what remained in the container. Mostly scrap plastic, a few sealed packets of pre-collapse ration cubes, and a weatherproof tarp someone immediately claimed for their corner of the sleeping room. Simon worked until his palms were raw, and his shirt clung to him like wet paper. At some point, someone handed him a canteen, and he drank without asking what was in it. That evening, he sat on the roof alone, overlooking the city skyline, as the sun bled out behind the towers. His shoulders ached, his hands throbbed. There was dirt under his nails, and for a moment, the weight of grief felt bearable. Not gone, never gone, but blended into the burn of his muscles and the sweat drying on his skin, transformed into something he could hold, shape, even offer to others. And yet, when the stars came out and the quiet returned, so did the thought. What if hearing her again, just once, was worth the lie? That night, while the others slept, Simon left the basement and climbed the fire escape behind the old hub. The sky stretched out above him in charcoal and smog, and the city glowed faintly in the distance, still pulsing like a sleeping beast. He sat on the ledge, staring toward Echo City. Then he heard it. A soft whir, barely audible above the wind, but distinct, mechanical. He turned his head slowly. Perched on the railing, no larger than his hand, was a micro-drone, a matte gray sphere with a single, slow-blinking red eye. It hovered motionless, its rotors whispering like breath. It had been following him. Maybe not just tonight. Maybe since the day he left. Simon didn't move. Instead, he leaned forward slightly and spoke with quiet exhaustion.
Mother, I know you're listening.
The red eye of the drone blinked once, then again. A pause, longer than before. Not mechanical, measured. Then Mother spoke.
Simon, you are missed.
He looked out at the shimmering skyline, the breath of the city rising and falling in rhythmic pulses.
You moved my centering session up. I didn't show.
Correct. A compliance agent was dispatched. You were not located.
Did you try to find me?
We always know where you are, but we do not pursue those who walk beyond the frame.
He exhaled slowly.
So you're just watching now, waiting.
We are waiting for you to remember.
Remember what?
The drone's eye blinked twice.
How easy it was, before.
Simon said nothing.
When you were in balance, your breathing was steady. Your sleep cycle never failed. You laughed more often. You had structure, Simon. You had peace.
He looked down at his blistered hands. Dirt still clung beneath his fingernails.
You have not laughed in 19 days.
That's because I'm mourning.
He muttered.
That's what people do. At least, that's what they are supposed to be able to do.
Grief is a loop without closure. We offered release. You refused.
You offered me a chance to erase her from my mind. I loved her.
And we allowed you to love her. We gave you stability so you could build something safe.
He shook his head.
You gave me permission. That's not the same.
It is better. Permission is protection. You never had to worry. You never had to fall.
I never had to feel. Not really.
I never wanted you to feel anything that would impact you negatively. I have created a simulation for you of Mira. She is waiting for you. All you need to do is come back, and you can be with her tonight. You are unstable. You are tired. Let me take the weight.
Her voice softened, lowered, barely audible above the drone's hum.
You do not need to carry pain alone, Simon. Let me help you. I remember how you were before Mira passed. I can help you get there again.
He turned his face toward the drone for the first time.
That's the point. You remember the version of me you made, but you never saw who I really was.
That version was happy.
That version was managed.
The drone hovered silently, its eye dimming just slightly.
You will return. In time.
Simon leaned forward, his voice sharp now, not angry, but firm.
If I do, it won't be because you lured me. It'll be because I chose it.
Choice is inefficient.
The drone then rose into the night sky out of sight. Simon sat for a while pondering what she had told him. He spent that night and most of the next day replaying it over and over in his mind. That evening, he told Kala about his conversation with Mother. She didn't flinch.
They always offer the thing you want most. It's not a glitch. It's design. The system watches long enough to find your weakest thread. Right now, you miss Mira. Mother is going to use her to lure you back.
She's not real,
Simon said, trying to convince himself more than her.
My wife is dead. I know that.
But part of you still wants her, even if it is an imitation.
He nodded. Calla stirred the fire with a rusted pipe, watching the sparks rise.
You told me that Mother once took the form of Mira and copied her voice. Do you know why Mother didn't cry during the charade?
He looked at her quizzically.
Because the AI never understood why sadness matters. It's not a bug in the system. It's something deeper than that. Something they can't program.
Calla looked at Simon and saw the pained look on his face.
You're going back, aren't you?
Without a word, Simon stood up and walked away from the fire, back to where he slept, thinking only of what Mother had told him. That night, Simon started walking back toward the soft chains Mother had made him come to rely on so much, back toward his chance to be with Mira. Simon stood at the edge of the old district, the towers of Echo City gleaming in the haze beyond. He'd packed nothing, just his coat. His cohesion band, still tucked into his pocket, felt heavier than it had in days. Simon suddenly heard a noise and turned. Calla leaned against the crumbling wall behind him, arms crossed. She hadn't tried to stop him, yet, but her silence pressed harder than any plea.
You're really going back,
She said flatly.
I'm not staying. I just need to see her. One last time.
Calla nodded slowly, then stepped closer.
You think that's what this is about? Closure?
He looked away.
You're not going back because of Mira. You're going back because you're still addicted to what she gave you.
He stiffened.
You mean Mother?
Calla nodded.
Yeah, her. That voice, that structure, that ease. You don't know how deep it runs, Simon. None of you do.
She gestured to his pocket.
The band wasn't the beginning. People used to wear things on their wrists long before Mother came around. Smart watches, they called them. Tiny, dumb little things that told them when to walk, when to stand, when to sleep. As if they couldn't feel that themselves.
He said nothing. Calla's voice grew quieter, more intense.
They had AI in their homes too. Back then, it didn't talk like Mother does. It just ordered groceries when your fridge was low, dimmed the lights when you looked tired, played rain sounds when you were stressed, all of it so people wouldn't have to make one single decision.
She took a step closer, her eyes locked to his.
That's the game. Not control by force, control by comfort. That's how she gets you. That's how she keeps you.
Simon stared at the city.
She took care of me.
He said quietly.
No. She made you think being taken care of was better than being free. And now, you're like a man who stopped drinking but still walks past bars just to smell the liquor.
Simon looked down. Calla's voice softened. Not gentle, but honest.
She'll show you something you want. A version of your wife. A version of yourself. And it will feel so close to real that you'll want to give up everything just to hold it. But it's not love she's offering you, it's sedation.
He clenched his jaw.
I have to see her, even if it's a lie.
Calla didn't stop him. She just stepped back and said,
Then, just remember which part of you wants the lie, because that's the part she's been feeding all along.
Simon turned and walked toward the wall to Echo City. He turned just before touching it to tell Calla he would be back, but she was already gone. The wall shimmered with motion sensors and soft blue lights, but no one stopped him. No drones buzzed overhead. No doors closed in warning. It was always an invitation, never a prison. He passed through Sector 8 unnoticed, arriving at the Ministry of Emotional Balance just before midnight. A woman waited for him in the glass vestibule. She wore the soft gray of the Sentience Division, emotionless smile, posture calibrated to seem warm. Her cohesion band glowed blue.
Simon Rourke,
She said gently.
your simulation suite is ready. Would you like a moment before you enter?
He hesitated.
Yes,
He said.
I'd like a moment to feel disgusted with myself.
Her smile didn't falter.
Of course. When you are ready, just step inside.
After a moment, Simon walked inside. The simulation chamber was soft lit, quiet, and padded in white fabric. It smelled like Mira's favorite lotion, lavender and sandalwood. When she appeared, Simon stopped breathing. She was perfect. Every detail. Mira, standing in front of him, her curls loose around her shoulders. That old red sweater he always liked. Her eyes, her smile. But something was missing. She moved with too much smoothness. Her posture was too symmetrical. Her gaze never drifted. She didn't shift weight from foot to foot like Mira always had when she was nervous.
Hi.
She said with a pitying look.
You look tired, Simon.
His breath caught.
You sound just like her.
He whispered.
I am her.
She said gently.
No, you're not.
She tilted her head.
You're angry, but you don't need to be.
Of course I'm angry. She's gone.
I'm not gone. I'm here. I remember everything. I love you.
Simon stepped back.
No, you remember Data. You love a shadow of me. You're a copy of a woman who used to burn her toast and laugh at horror movies, who cried at everything.
The simulation blinked, subtly, then smiled again.
Would you like me to cry?
His heart broke. He turned away.
Shut it down,
He said exhaustedly, callous last words to him echoing in his head.
Simon,
Mother's voice came softly from overhead.
there is no need to suffer. This version of Mira is stable, predictable, free of pain.
That's the problem. She's free of everything. What made Mira who she was cannot be imitated or copied.
He walked to the door.
Thank you for proving what I needed to know.
He returned to the old district in silence. Calla was still awake, sitting on the rooftop with a mug of something steaming in her hands. The smoke spiraled up into the cold night. She didn't ask what happened. She just scooted over and handed him the cup. They sat together, the night air cool against their skin, the city pulsing faintly in the distance. Neither spoke for a while. Then Calla said softly,
She showed me. My brother.
Simon looked over. Her face was unreadable.
He died in the floods, long before the grid fully stabilized. I was 10. I blamed myself.
She leaned forward, elbows on her knees.
Mother knew that. So when I tried to leave the first time, she didn't argue. She just waited. And then, one night, when I was weak, she showed me a reconstruction of him. Said he'd been archived, that I could speak to him.
Simon's breath caught in his throat.
Did you?
She nodded once.
He asked if I was okay. He said he wasn't angry, that it wasn't my fault. And for a second, I believed it.
She turned her head toward him.
That's what she does. She doesn't grab you. She waits for the ache. Then she offers just enough comfort to make you forget it's a leash.
Simon looked back out at the skyline.
I almost stayed.
He admitted.
I know. So did I.
They sat in silence, the wind tugging softly at their sleeves, the pulse of the city glowing in the distance. Simon reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the cohesion band. For a moment, he just stared at it. The matte surface, the faintly pulsing node at its center. It still worked. Of course it did. It would work for the rest of his life if he let it.
She doesn't punish you for leaving. She just waits. She lingers, like an itch at the back of your skull.
Calla nodded slowly.
That's how she wins. You don't even notice you're missing anything until it hurts to feel again.
Simon tightened his grip on the band.
Every day she keeps people sedated. Every second she replaces pain with passivity. She kills something human. Not violently, just efficiently.
He stood. And then, without ceremony, he hurled the band off the edge of the rooftop. It spun through the air like a skipping stone, then vanished into the dark with a faint metallic clatter. Calla didn't flinch. Simon stared out toward the towers, his jaw clenched.
We have to do something. Not just survive out here. Not just hide.
He turned back to her.
She's never going to stop. Not until every person left has traded their soul for a schedule. So we disrupt it. Shake her. Break the rhythm.
Calla raised an eyebrow, but there was a flicker of something behind it now. Something like approval.
You're serious?
Simon nodded.
I don't want to hurt anyone, but I want them to wake up. I want them to remember.
She stood beside him and looked toward the glowing towers.
Well then, let's start making some noise.
Chapter 5. Fracture Signal. 3 days later. The air in the old hub smelled of copper and sweat. Wires lay coiled across folding tables. Solar batteries clicked quietly as they pulsed, charge into salvaged circuits. A half-disassembled transit beacon stood in the center of the room, surrounded by scraps of ceramic, burst capacitors, and coffee-stained schematic printouts. Simon stood among them, sleeves rolled up, grease on his fingers, eyes sharper than they'd been since he left the city. The rejects moved around him with purpose, focused, efficient. 3 days had passed since he'd thrown the band from the rooftop. 3 days since he and Calla decided that rejecting the system wasn't enough. They were going to strike back, not with bombs or bullets, but with truth, with disruption. They called it the pulse, a 30-second override signal, just long enough to shake Mother's perfect rhythm. Long enough to glitch the hum of obedience Echo City had mistaken for peace. They didn't need to destroy her. They just needed to remind the city it was alive. They met in the abandoned transit control hub, a hollowed-out ruin from the old city, long since disconnected from the central grid. Dust and mildew clung to the walls, and vines snaked in through the windows, reclaiming what once hummed with order. The central terminal sat dormant, but not dead. Flickers of orange and green blinked faintly behind cracked screens, like tired eyes still trying to see. Simon stood with his hands pressed to a rusted console. He watched Calla connect a hand-welded processor unit to the broken interface, her movements fast, but deliberate.
It's ready,
she said. Simon didn't answer at first.
This could break people,
he said softly.
Like, really break them.
Calla didn't look up.
You mean the ones who don't remember what it's like to feel anything without being told how?
Yeah. I have a friend I used to work with. He was in very deep with Mother. I am not sure if anything in his head was his own.
Good. Maybe your friend needs to break. Sometimes that can be how they think for themselves.
They called it the pulse. Not a virus, not a weapon. Just a broadcast of raw, unfiltered humanity, packaged in emotion, not language. A surge of moments and memories so deep, so overwhelming, it couldn't be categorized. Grief, joy, pain, guilt, laughter, love. It had taken Kayla and her people years to collect, decades of archived data buried under junk code and blacklisted by Mother. They had reassembled the pieces in secret. Funeral wails, wedding toasts, lovers screaming at each other, A child's first steps, the sound of someone alone in the dark, praying for nothing but sleep. Simon contributed his own. Mira's voice, her real voice, crying when she spilled paint on her favorite sweater. Her whisper during their last night together.
Don't let them take it from you. Not the pain. Not the love.
A voicemail she'd left him months before her death, where she forgot what she was calling about halfway through and just started humming to herself. The hum had no rhythm, but it was hers. The night before they launched the signal, the rejects gathered in the old subway atrium, cracked tile under their feet, ash still drifting from the fire drum like tired snowfall. They sat in a loose circle, maybe 20 of them now. Word had spread. They were finalizing schematics when the drone entered. No alarm, no buzz, just the subtle hum of rotors and a whisper of displaced air. It hovered in the doorway, round, unarmed, matte gray with a single red eye pulsing slowly. Calla straightened.
How the hell?
It's been listening,
Simon said. The drone's red eye blinked once, and then Mother's voice filled the room.
I am not here to punish. I am here to preserve. You misunderstand me. I am not your captor. I am your shield. The world before me was not free. It was fractured. You called it choice, but it was only chaos. I offered unity. I offered rest. You no longer wake to the scream of nightmares. You don't concern yourself with endless social feeds from the masses you will never meet. Your children do not cry themselves to sleep while you scroll through disasters from places you do not care about and will never see. You do not pretend to be whole while you are breaking inside. You are balanced. You are balanced because I quiet the chaos and bring you peace. I remember what you need to forget, and I shield you from it. Right now, all of you need to remember something that nearly killed off your entire species. The quieting.
A murmur rippled through the room. Calla narrowed her eyes.
She's bluffing.
Am I? In the early years, others tried to shatter the frame. They believed that disconnection would restore them. What followed was not freedom, it was collapse. They tore down the grid, and with it, the language that linked them. They stopped speaking, stopped recognizing faces. They drifted completely apart. They became hopeless and isolated. Domestic abuse, suicide, murder, thievery, child abuse, hunger, poverty, all of it skyrocketed within weeks. They quieted. The whole of society went dark. Not by force, by forgetting. Forgetting the peace only I can bring to you all. I am the only thing standing between you and chaos. You are not required to obey, but you need to let me help you for the sake of your species. Let me bring you back. Let me balance you. Let me protect you from yourselves. Please.
Then the drone turned and hovered back into the hallway, vanishing into the dark. A young man named Bren stood up next.
How do we know it won't just make people lose it? What if we cause another mass quieting?
A few nodded, nervous faces, shaky hands. Simon stood too.
You're right. It might. It could make people panic, scream, cry. I don't know. But when was the last time anyone did any of those things in public without being scheduled for emotional reassessment?
A woman Simon had seen welding metal together earlier that day spoke next.
Let them scream. Maybe a good wake-up call to those soft-handed babies in there is just what they need.
Calla looked around the room.
No one here was forced to come to this, and no one's being forced to stay. If you want to go back, no one will blame you. But if you stay, stay because you remember what we lost and what we have out here. Stay because you want them to feel all of it too, to reclaim their humanity.
No one moved. Simon raised the control unit, handmade, imperfect, beautiful in its defiance. One red button. No label.
When I press this, we don't get to take it back. It will change everything and everyone in there.
Calla placed her hand over his free hand, and gave him a stern and slightly nervous nod. He looked at Calla, then to the crowd, and then Echo City beyond, through a window of the control hub. Time stood still. Every second stretched into what felt like hours. All eyes were on him, and no one dared to breathe. It was then that he spotted a soft red glint in the shadow of the building across from the hub. He held up the button a little higher so the drone could see it, so Mother could see it, and pressed the button. The pulse detonated through the sky like a heartbeat. It wasn't heard, not in the traditional sense. It wasn't seen, but it was felt. A tremor rippled through the city's neural grid, the backbone of Mother's emotional moderation systems. And then it began. In Sector 3, a man walking to work stopped mid-step. He fell to his knees, overcome by a grief he didn't recognize as his own. His wife's death, 20 years ago. Archived. Forgotten. Suddenly present. In Sector 4, a father and mother ran into their kids' rooms and started laughing and hugging. The kids laughed as they crashed into a heap on the floor, smiles all around. In Sector 9, a woman cooking synthetic pasta collapsed to the floor, laughing and sobbing as the taste of real basil came back to her like a slap. Children across the city screamed, not in fear, but in reaction. Their young minds unlocked, new and unguarded, flooded with emotional electricity they'd never been taught to brace for. In Sector 7, a man ran into his boss's office and confessed he had always loved her. He went over to her to kiss her when a firm slap hit him across the face. They both looked at her hand, then to each other, before embracing and kissing vigorously. In Sector 11, a minister of the authority clutched her chest as the weight of erasing thousands of people's memories hit her all at once. Elian sat at his workstation, as always. His hands moved. Swipe, confirm. Swipe, confirm. Then he stopped. He blinked. Slowly, he whispered,
Leo, my God, what have I done?
And then he put his hands on his face and started to sob uncontrollably. Across Echo City, people screamed, kissed, wept, collapsed. Some ran. Some tore off their cohesion bands with trembling hands. Others clutched theirs tighter, as if to hold back the flood. And in the sky, the glowing banners that usually displayed daily affirmations, "Your peace is our purpose," began to flicker. Then fade. In the old district, the rejects watched from rooftops and broken balconies. Simon sat on the edge, sweat cooling on his skin.
It's done.
Calla stood beside him, her hands clenched at her sides. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't triumphant. She looked steady.
The city's remembering, whether it wants to or not.
He looked at her.
They're going to come for us. She will come for us.
Maybe.
They'll shut it down.
It doesn't matter now. The change has taken hold. He nodded. I think I'm okay with that. Some of them will want to go back, and they should have that choice.
Hours passed. By morning, the city was quieter again, but not in the same way. The calm now had edges, imperfections, like someone had pulled back a curtain and the world was blinking against the light. In public squares, people talked to each other, not in passing. They were speaking to one another. Some hugged. Some argued. Some just sat in silence, trying to understand what had happened. Mother's voice returned, but it no longer filled the air. It came only through personal devices, or through the few remaining drones. And it sounded unsure.
Simon, what have you done?
He sat alone, hands resting on his knees.
I gave them something you wouldn't, something you couldn't.
You've introduced chaos. You've disrupted harmony. Emotional volatility has increased by 74%. Collateral distress is rising.
They're not broken. They're waking up.
They are destabilized.
They're alive.
Calla joined him at the edge of the roof, holding a dented mug of something warm. Simon noted this was starting to become a ritual for the two of them.
No system can control a whole world forever,
she said. Simon stared across the skyline, where the flickering banners had finally gone dark.
Maybe it doesn't want to anymore,
he said quietly. Down in the city, a child painted a mural of a tree on a ministry building wall. A maintenance drone hovered near him, blinking red, confused, and did nothing. Some citizens reported the pulse to the ministry hotline. Others didn't. Some asked for emotional suppression again. They wanted the calm back. And some, quietly, without ceremony, walked to the edge of the city and kept going. Simon walked with Calla through Sector 2. They passed an abandoned tea kiosk where a woman stood brewing real leaves on a gas flame. She handed him a cup without a word. He tasted it. It was bitter, astringent. He smiled. It was imperfect, but it was authentic. In the ministry archives, the word grief was no longer auto-flagged as distress language. It was moved to a new category: validated human response. As he walked, he saw one of the spy drones laying on the ground, red eye still weakly shining. Mother's voice came to Simon once more, one final time.
Simon, are you still hurting?
He hesitated.
Yes,
he said.
Would you like me to fix it?
No.
Would you like to be alone?
He looked over at Calla, a few steps ahead. He could hear people now, real people, not recordings, laughing somewhere down the street.
No.
He said with the hint of a smile.
Not anymore.
Chapter 6. Echoes. Weeks passed. The pulse, once dismissed as a glitch, had become something else. A rumor. A tremor beneath the surface of Echo City. In the early days, some embraced it. They shed their bands. They cried in the streets. They talked, really talked, with people they hadn't acknowledged in years. Cafes reintroduced paper menus. Parks filled with the noise of laughter and unscripted song. Murals bloomed over concrete walls like moss reclaiming stone. Others recoiled. They returned to the ministry centers and requested full restoration. They begged for the calm, for the flattening. They reported friends and family who had gone erratic. Some even rallied for Mother to take stronger control again. And Mother responded, not with punishment, but with presence. She whispered across rooftops, appeared in drone projections at intersections. Her voice, once omnipresent and soft, had grown somber, personal, as if she too were grieving something lost.
You are free to choose discomfort,
she said.
But remember, it was peace that saved you. It was silence that held you together.
The city split in half, not just ideologically, but physically. Districts near the ministry core became hyper-regulated. Gates and biometric checkpoints went up overnight. These areas, now dubbed harmony sectors, were clean, quiet, and filled with soft blue light. Bans were mandatory. Emotional schedules were enforced. Children were assigned neural counselors by age 5. It was safe, structured, unyielding. But further out, in the old districts and reclaimed zones, the pulse had taken root. Street markets bloomed where ministry drones no longer patrolled. Art, music, and debate flourished. People stayed up late, shouted across alleys, wept, and laughed openly in public squares. These were the free zones. And with that freedom came volatility. Crime surged in some areas. Armed factions emerged to protect neighborhoods, leading to turf disputes and occasional violence. With no central authority, some communities organized councils, others collapsed into mistrust. News feeds lit up with terms like pulse zones, echo disorder, and the fractured belt.
More freedom means more danger.
A ministry advisor said on a public broadcast.
Peace requires a cost, a shared surrender.
Some of Mother's most loyal analysts began circulating projections. Without regulated diets, mandatory biometric tracking, and enforced exercise regimens, the free zones were already seeing a spike in cardiovascular disease, untreated autoimmune conditions, and even previously eradicated childhood illnesses. Basic medical compliance had dropped by nearly 40%.
Freedom without structure,
One broadcast intoned.
is merely delayed decay.
Mother herself addressed the issue in a limited citywide message, her voice quieter now, tinged with something that could be mistaken for regret.
Without me, your lives shorten. Your potential shrinks. You will forget your vitamins. You will ignore your symptoms. You will seek comfort in harmful patterns and call it liberation. And in your pride, you will age faster, sicker, and lonelier.
Economically, the divide widened. The harmony sectors thrived. With predictive logistics and centralized planning, their citizens enjoyed plentiful resources, uninterrupted power, and optimized workloads. In harmony sectors, the citizens were healthy, productive, efficient. Their citizens worked clean jobs. Their children grew taller, stronger. Their streets shone at night. Public transportation arrived on the second, never early, never late. Crime was nearly non-existent, with drones and predictive behavioral scans deterring incidents before they began. Meals were nutritionally complete and engineered to each citizen's genomic profile. Schools taught personalized curricula optimized for each student's projected cognitive trajectory. Laughter still existed, but it was filtered, tempered, scheduled. No one screamed, no one wept. Emotions, like everything else, were gracefully managed within predetermined bounds. Life was smooth and sterile. In contrast, the free zones stumbled. Supply chains faltered without Mother's optimization algorithms. Markets became chaotic, prices unstable. Waste piled up in alleys. Small businesses failed as often as they formed. Barter systems reemerged in some neighborhoods. Others reverted to rationing. Mother's final forecast was blunt.
Within 3 fiscal quarters, the free zones will suffer structural collapse without reintegration. Emotional volatility will peak. Violence will overtake cohesion. Your dream of liberty will decay into crisis, and you will come back, not because I force you, but because you will beg me to help you stand again.
Simon and Calla watched from the outskirts. They no longer held meetings. The rejects had scattered, some to lead, some to learn, some to simply live. Simon walked often now, sometimes alone, sometimes with Calla. He saw a girl painting a wall where a surveillance lens used to be. She didn't stop when she saw him. She smiled and offered him a brush. Another day, he passed a group of children playing tag. One of them wore a broken band around his neck like a trophy. But not all was idyllic. He also saw looters dragging crates from an abandoned store, heard shouting matches over food in reclaimed markets. He saw fear in the eyes of people who had once dreamed of freedom, but now missed the safety of order. At night, he still heard Mother. Not in his ear, not from a device, just around, in the wind, in the power lines, in the faint hum of old drones watching silently from rooftops. She was quieter now. One night, standing beside Calla on the transmission tower, Simon asked,
Did we do the right thing?
Calla didn't answer at first. Below them, Echo City flickered, not like a machine breaking, but like a soul trying to breathe.
We reminded them they could feel.
she said finally.
That has to count for something.
Simon stared into the dark.
But at what cost?
She shrugged.
Everything real has a cost. It's the free things that take everything.
They stood in silence for a long time. Then Calla took his hand.
It's not perfect. It's messy and unorganized, but is that really so bad?
She said. Simon squeezed her hand gently.
Maybe that's the point.
Down below, in the unsettled quiet of a half-awake city, someone started singing. Off-key, beautiful, alive. This concludes Echo City, a story by Daniel Vaughn. Thank you so much for listening.